All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about credit scores today, but probably not in the way you're used to. We're going to bust some of the most common myths out there. Myths that aren't just wrong, they could literally be costing you thousands of dollars. Most of us think about our credit score as this big, scary thing we only have to deal with when we're buying a house or a car, right? But what if I told you it's secretly, quietly working behind the scenes, bumping up your monthly bills in ways you'd never even think to look? So here's our first shocker, and it is a big one. In almost every state, we're talking 47 of them, insurance companies use something called a credit-based insurance score to decide what you pay. And get this, if you have poor credit, you could be paying 40 to 50% more for car insurance than someone with excellent credit. And that's even if you have a perfect driving record. No accidents, no tickets, just a higher bill. And what about this number? $205. You might be wondering, where did that come from? Well, this was a real security deposit someone had to pay their utility company just to get the lights on. Why? The company ran a utility score and decided they were a risk. It's just another one of those little fees that really starts to add up. When you add it all up, the higher insurance, the extra deposits, it's like you're paying this hidden tax, a tax for not knowing how the whole system really works. So you know what? Let's stop paying it. It's time to bust these myths once and for all. Okay, first things first, we've got to tackle the really fundamental myths. These are the basic misunderstandings about what a credit score even is and how it actually behaves in the real world. This one is probably the biggest myth of them all. You hear people talk about my credit score, like it's this single magic number that follows you around everywhere. But, that's just not how it works. The truth is, you have lots of scores. The two big players in the game are FICO and VantageScore. And they don't even calculate things the same way. For instance, a FICO score usually needs you to have at least 6 months of credit history. But VantageScore, it can sometimes generate a score with just 1 month of history. It can even look at things like your rent and utility payments, which is a total game changer for people who are just starting out. Ugh, this myth. This one causes so much unnecessary stress. People are literally afraid to check in on their own financial health because they think that just by looking, they're going to wreck their score. So let's clear this up right now. It all comes down to the type of inquiry. When you check your own score using a credit monitoring app or website, that's called a soft inquiry. It has zero, and I mean zero, impact on your score. A hard inquiry is different. That's when you apply for a new loan or credit card, and the lender pulls your report. That can cause a small, temporary dip. So please, check your own score. Check it every week if you want. It's perfectly safe. Okay, now we're moving into some dangerous territory. Let's talk about the myths that can get you into some serious trouble, the ones spread by sketchy companies that set up this tempting but dangerous quick fix trap. Let's start with this quote because it gets right to the point. If there's a negative item on your report, like a late payment, and it's accurate, nobody can legally just wave a magic wand and make it vanish before its time is up, which is usually 7 years. It just doesn't work that way. Now, the government knows these scams are a huge problem, which is exactly why this law exists. It's called the Credit Repair Organizations Act, or CROA, and it sets really strict rules for these companies. Knowing what's in this law is your best defense. And here are the biggest red flags to watch out for. Under that law, it is absolutely illegal for a company to make you pay before they've actually done the work. That's a huge one. If they promise they can get rid of negative info that you know is accurate, or if they tell you to lie to the credit bureaus, they are breaking the law. Turn around and run the other way. And here is the single most empowering piece of information in this whole explainer. You do not need to pay anyone to do this stuff. You have the legal right to pull your own credit reports for free and to dispute any errors you find directly with the credit bureaus yourself. It doesn't cost a penny. All right, so we've busted the myths, we've spotted the scams. Now for the good part, the actual, proven, legit playbook for building and keeping a fantastic credit score. But first, let's just quickly remind ourselves why this matters so much. Look at the average interest rates for a personal loan. If your credit is excellent, you might get a rate around 11%. But if your credit is just fair, that rate can skyrocket to over 28%. The difference in cost is it's huge. And this is what that looks like in real dollars. On a $5,000 loan, the person with excellent credit pays around $886 in interest over 3 years. The person with fair credit, for the exact same loan, they're paying over $2,400. That's more than $1,500 extra straight out of their pocket, all because of that 3-digit number. So
So how do you get into that excellent club? It all boils down to these 5 simple but incredibly powerful habits. Number 1 is the absolute king. Pay your bills on time every single time. 2, keep your credit card balances low. The rule of thumb is below 30% of your limit. 3, check your reports for any mistakes. 4, keep your old accounts open because that length of history helps your score. And finally, 5, try to avoid applying for a bunch of new credit all at once. That's it. That's the playbook. And you have to remember there are no shortcuts here. This is not about some secret trick. Building good credit is a marathon, not a sprint. It's all about consistency and good habits practiced over time. That's what builds a score that'll save you money. Okay, let's tie all of this together. Once you understand the truth behind these myths, you can finally take control of your financial life and, like we've seen, literally save yourself thousands of dollars in the process.
If you're ever wondering where to focus your energy, just look at this chart. For the FICO score, your payment history is 35% of the whole thing. The amount of money you owe, that's another 30%. Right there, that's 65% of your entire score. If you just nailed those 2 things, paying on time and keeping balances low, you are most of the way there. So let's recap the big takeaways. 1, you don't have one score, you have many. 2, checking your own score is totally safe, it's free, and it's smart. 3, anyone promising a quick fix is probably running a scam. And 4, the real solution? It's boring, but it works. Pay your bills on time and keep your balances low. And that brings us right back to where we started. This whole thing isn't just about some abstract number. It's about real money. The money you can keep in your wallet, on insurance, on loans, on deposits, once you stop letting these myths dictate your finances. So I'll leave you with this question. Now you know the myths, you know the scams, and you have the real playbook. What's the very first step you're going to take to stop paying that hidden credit tax?